Hi guys, I want to talk about what toxic metaframing is and libido self-empowerment. Let's start with toxic metaframing first. Toxic metaframing is something that I would say at least 50% of the current human population does because they have learned to toxic metaframe and think it's a normal behavior while it's not. It basically has to do with a person so much limiting and blocking and suppressing their libido energy in the sacral chakra, which has to do with joy and sexuality, that they seriously become unhappy consciously or unconsciously. And by being so unhappy through blocking their libido energies in the sacral chakra, they start to talk bad about others, starting to put them down. And a horrible escalation of toxic metaframing is narcissism and gaslighting. So once you understand toxic metaframing, you can immediately remove toxic people from your life, and at the same time also avoid very, very early on any kind of worse behaviors. And there's a lot of worse behaviors that come with toxic metaframers. So how do you recognize it in your daily life? So first of all, you have to really understand what it is. So basically, I can make a choice in life that follows my sexuality or my joy. When I make a decision for my joy and sexuality, I open up the sacral chakra. For example, I say, oh, today I really feel like doing this or that. Okay? And you do it. You just do it. If you don't do it, you actually suppress your libido, especially if you make decisions kind of like others making decisions for you, so you have to go to work although you don't like the work and so forth. That's actually suppressing your libido and your libido self-empowerment. It's basically saying, I have to do things which are not joyful, I have to do things which don't give me sexuality. It's either or, and if you don't do those, then you're going to feel frustrated. You're going to feel frustrated. You're going to try to project that frustration onto others because it's never your own fault, right? It's always the other person's fault. So let's say you're, for example, married to someone and but you feel like you want to experiment around sexually. And because either through conditioning or because the other person doesn't want to, you're basically restricted to do that. So you're going to feel frustrated somehow. You're going to block that energy. And the result of that blockage of energy is just you're going to project on your partner that it's her fault, his fault, and you start to press them down in their joy and their sexuality and their happiness. And then it's of course not a real relationship. But the thing is that happens on all kinds of levels, not just partnerships. It happens in families, it happens from child to parent, from parent to child. It all has to do with libido self-empowerment. It happens in workplaces, it happens with people you randomly meet. And what you have to look out for is understanding what it really looks like. So for example, if somebody comes up to you on the internet and says you're a dumb motherfucker, okay, that's a toxic metaframe, because basically they're trying to push you down, make you feel as if you're less worth. But it's a generalization which can never be 100% true. So it's literally done to bring you onto their level so they can feel some kind of sexual hierarchy dominance over you, because it's all about sexual hierarchy dominance. Because if you suppress your own libido, then you're gonna do sexual hierarchy dominance by trying to press them down psychologically or physically in order to assert your territory. And so even if let's say a father comes to a child and says to his son, you're never going to amount to anything in your life, that's actually a toxic metaframe. It's, first of all, it cannot be 100% true. Second, it's not very spiritual, but it's basically he's unhappy with his life and he's projecting it on his son and trying to suppress him in order to assert his territory. And that is that's very, very toxic behavior. And the sooner you understand it, the easier it is to remove yourself from that. And there's literally only one very sane thing to do from toxic metaframing, and that is actually to physically cut off from a toxic metaframe and not even talk to them, not even discuss anything, because toxic metaframers that do that constantly, and the narcissists, are experts in turning it around on you, especially also with gaslighting. So you say like, don't fucking toxic metaframe me, then the other person will be like, yeah, but you do also bad things, and you've also toxic metaframe, and so forth. They'll have a million reasons to turn it around on you, and so that makes no sense. But not everything is a toxic metaframe. What is the opposite of a toxic metaframe? The opposite of a toxic metaframe is actually a compliment, a genuine compliment. That's actually the opposite of a toxic metaframe. And so you can develop positive relationships by giving compliments, or you can destroy relationships by doing toxic metaframing. And on the internet, there's a lot of people who project their unhappiness on influencers, on creators, on people who make posts. And they start to comment stuff like, for example, today I received, "Oh, your life must be very boring in order to upload a video like that." That's a toxic metaframe. And it's kind of like touche because I guess their life is boring as well. But I could now choose to answer in an aggressive way or an attack way, and I could be like, "Oh, it seems yours is boring as well," or something like that. No, instead I instantly shadow ban that person or remove it from my account, or banning, deleting, whatever. It's literally the best thing you can do with toxic metaframers. And I've become an expert on toxic metaframing. I instantly recognize it when it is, when it's not. I instantly block the person. There's no further talk down the line, because in the beginning, for experimentation, I tried to talk to some toxic metaframers and see what different reactions they would have. And 99% it was always the same reaction. They would toxic metaframe even more or get aggressive and very uncomfortable. Nobody was like, "Oh, that's interesting. Okay, that's toxic metaframing. I didn't realize I was doing that. I'm sorry." See, it never happens. Almost never happens. So understand toxic metaframing, where it comes from, why people do it, how they do it, and instantly cut away from that. And when you go in the direction of your libido self-empowerment, which is making choices for your highest joy and your highest sexuality, you instantly do not spend your time with them anyway. Because if you ask yourself, like when somebody is toxic metaframing you, does it give you more joy or more sexuality dealing with them? Not really. Okay, so, and if it doesn't, then just don't spend time with them. Super simple. Just cut them off completely. And sometimes also people spread false lies as a form of toxic metaframing, just in order to put you down, to suppress you. Don't deal with them at all. It's like, you cannot fix their broken life. You cannot fix their inability to follow their highest libido, their libido self-empowerment. You cannot fix it. You can give them advice, but they won't take it because they're on a different consciousness vibration level. So just ban them, block them, don't deal with them at all. Super easy. And since I've been doing that, my life is getting better. And I also noticed that more and more and more women are writing me. And if I didn't follow my libido self-empowerment, I wouldn't even be out there that people would be able to get in contact with me. They wouldn't even know about me. So it's a form of expressing your sacral chakra and not letting anybody who puts you down for that in your vicinity. And eventually it starts accumulating. And here comes something super interesting about libido self-empowerment. The more you do libido self-empowerment, the more it stacks on top of each other, the more it gets stronger, because it's a very powerful energy. And at some point, you really gonna feel the benefits physically, mentally, sexually, from your joy, your sacral chakra. Your body is gonna feel better. A lot of benefits. It's literally endless, and a lot of successful people do this unconsciously. So I'm giving it a name and a very clear direct It's like a method. It's even better than I don't know, law of attraction or something. So understand toxic metaframing. Understands it's a suppression of libido. And the opposite that you can do is libido self-empowerment. And also, of course, I talk about spiritual awakening, which is the most important thing of all. But and then I talk about spiritual healing methodologies, like the tapping, for example, tapping in mantras. And if you have those 4 columns and you implement them in your life is going to be amazing, literally amazing.